What's up? What's up? Mic check, mic check. Oh, we gonna cook today. What up, autopilot? What's up? What's up? Just getting the stream all booted up. Garcia's next fight is a damn exhibition, which we even mentioned in this clown for. I mean, Ryan Garcia said he could knock Jaron Ennis. Jaron Ennis says he wants to fight Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is almost done with suspension, so I gotta ask the question, man. We're gonna have to ask y'all. Ryan Garcia do it. Give me about like one more minute while you guys coming in. While you're coming in, give me your honest vote. It doesn't have any info link to it. You can give me your honest opinion. We're gonna go over this. While you guys are coming in, just let me know where you guys are from. I'll touch you guys out. We're gonna have a live call-in show too, so I'm gonna end up dropping the link. You guys can jump in right now. So, what up, round one? Yeah, I had to take a nap. I said 11:30, but I was a little tired, man. I hope you guys understand. What up, y'all? Goodall, FightHype.com, back here with another segment of Believe the Hype, aka this is the good, the bad, the ugly. We're gonna recap a little bit on the whole weekend, Friday and Saturday, but primarily we need to talk about last night, the Jaron Ennis fight. I did a live stream, talked a little bit. I'm gonna get a lot of you guys to jump on here, give me you guys' thoughts. But for today's title, you got two guys saying pretty much one would knock out one, the other one says, hey, I'd love to see that happen. Let's make the fight happen, all right? So it seems like a clown show to many people, like my boy Autopilot says right here, right? The fight's a damn exhibition, which I've been mentioning this clown. I mean, Ryan Garcia is one of the biggest guys in boxing. He's essentially a welterweight. Never fought for a title, and he'll be coming soon in a couple more months in April. And Jaron Ennis had a lot of holes in his game yesterday. I don't know if it was the fact that Karen was a good fighter. Maybe there was some bad instructions given. Maybe he wasn't locked in. Maybe he's not who we think he is. Who knows? But we all saw a very tough fight for Jaron Ennis in his second main event hometown fight on a big stage at the Wells Fargo Arena. And I'm here to chat with you guys. Just a quick summary before I start bringing some of you guys on so that we can talk and debate and have that whole entire back and forth that we do best. You know, I was listening to Antonio Tarver's take before I got on, so shout out to Tarver. And he mentioned a lot of things that I believe that were kind of mentioned, I mean, in a more nicer way than Olmec says, boots defense's ass and Bozy and his corner's instruction. He said it in a lot more elegant way, all right? What up, round one? What up, Dennis? All those clean hits he landed on Boots. Imagine if that guy had more power. Imagine if he took left hook from Ryan Garcia like that. And that's kind of why the title was like that. It's not necessarily specifically going into a full Ryan Garcia, Jaron Ennis breakdown because, you know, they're not facing each other. But we seen Boots eat a lot of hooks from Karen. And I think the first thing everyone thought of was, my gosh, what if Ryan Garcia actually legitimately landed a solid flush shot? How would have that gone, right? I mean, it's not like Jaron wasn't getting hit with hooks all night. So there's a high chance that Ryan Garcia is capable of landing it. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to hurt him, but Garcia can get his boots, gets hit a lot against Avanesian and Chuk. He's tired in the last 3 rounds. Yeah, I mean, Ryan almost got knocked out by Devin Haney. Yeah, I mean, look, I think you would naturally have to favor the bigger guy, right? Jaron Ennis by default, Andy. I think you would have to favor the bigger, strong Jaron Ennis. But you have to sit and wonder after a performance like that, what's going on in Jaron Ennis's corner? You know, people have criticized Bozy. A lot of people said, hey, he needs a new corner, a new trainer, this, why, and that. Some people just said maybe Boots is just defensively flawed. He relies on too much athleticism and lacks the technique to actually be a solid elite fighter. Maybe we're just anointing these guys way too soon before they even are close to the potential that they will be one day. Ennis would steamroll Ryan any day of the week or month. I think that's a fair assessment. Ryan's good because he cheated to beat Devin and the guy before that, casual fans. Now Boots is easy work. Ha, believe anything. On drugs, he couldn't sleep Devin. Touche. I mean, you know, maybe Devin got a great chin. Maybe Devin had a lot of heart, you know. It's hard to say. You know, it's hard to say. We got to see what Ryan looks like when he comes back on some serious drug testing, right? Because I don't think anyone's going to fight him really without that VADA. But we can all at least agree one thing. Jaron Ennis had a lot of holes in his defense Saturday. I don't know necessarily if it was strictly looking for the knockout, because the expectation was, okay, he didn't look good against Karen. Because he didn't knock him out, he has to knock this guy out. So for that, was Jaron forcing a knockout? Was Jaron just kind of being too relaxed with his hands down? Was he taking him for granted? In the post-fight interview, he mentioned that, you know, that he kind of like didn't get up for the fight. Eddie Hearn doubled down on that same sentiment, saying, you know, he'll rise to the occasion. It's hard to get motivated. He's already beat this guy. You know, I honestly don't like hearing stuff like that. You guys need to know that I'm a firm believer that you got to treat every fighter like they're the biggest, baddest dude, because anything can happen like that. And Terrence said it in a positive message on Twitter. All it takes is one slip up, and you know, everything's done. To be at the mountaintop, to make it to the Mecca, you got to be precise and perfect on every fight. You can't take any fighter for granted, even if you faced them and beat them before. So I think a lot of us had that expectation, and really, yeah. So, all right, round one, relax. I'll get the link going, my brother. I know you've been hungry and eager, so I'm gonna get the StreamYard, right? I'm gonna read a couple of the comments, and I'm gonna get the StreamYard in, and I want you guys to jump in and participate on the platform. We're not just only going to talk on the Ryan and Boots hypothetical, but just really like dissect the card from last night. Bam Rodriguez did his thing. I think he stole the show. Like, he looked like the king that they advertised him as, the pound for pound, one of the pound for pound kings. Cameron would beat the brakes off of Garcia, Steven says. If Ryan's not too small, then it's a good fight. My man right here says Ryan would sleep Boots. What's up, Stick Talk Richie? And then Otto says Ryan just sucks. Man, he fights inferior opponents. Boots stops him in 7. All right, so let me mute this mic. Let me get this situated. I'm going to drop the StreamYard link. Like I said, feel free to participate. We're going to keep it very respectful, of course. Let me make sure my settings is all good. Let's see. Mic. Audio. Mic. AirPods. Mic. All right. And I move this here. I got a little mic difficulty I got to fix right here real quick. Give me 1 second. Once I make sure that it's working clear as day. Default microphone in. All right. And I will be dropping that link. Invite. Copy. Boom. Boom. All right. So I'm going to slowly bring you guys on here. And pretty much, there's the StreamYard link. We're just going to kind of just have a respectful conversation, right? You know? And right away, man, he jumped in ASAP. Boy was ready.
Was
All right.
ready.
All right.
How you doing this this afternoon, Rod G?
What's good,
Salute.
man? What's going on, man? I saw my boy Keyshawn was on your
Oh
ass a little
shit.
bit.
Let me turn that you off in the background. I'm sorry about that. What
No
was that,
worries.
brother?
My boy Keyshawn was on you last week. I saw, man. I saw.
Oh yeah. Because I like to meet these fighters, but I'm gonna keep it real. But Keyshawn also answered a lot of questions, and now he elevated his game just that much more. And that's what I mean about these fighters. The fans, and what you were talking about, Ranji, you were absolutely correct that sometimes us as fans, we're pushing these guys along maybe a little too fast, you know, and giving these guys and putting them on a plateau where they really haven't earned it yet.
Mhm.
You know, touching on the fight with Jaron Boots Ennis last night and what I saw much different for fans are saying right now. I saw a guy in Karen come in and really do some nice boxing work on the inside. That left check hook was landing. Jaron Boots Ennis didn't seem to have an answer for it. And the reason why I believe personally, this is my own personal reason, as a fighter, I think that Jaron Boots Ennis was upset that he had to take this fight. I think that his ego was on full display and he just wanted to get him out of there. Jaron Boots Ennis couldn't settle down into the fight. He's a much better skilled fighter, but he let Karen get away with a lot of things because he thought that Karen was going to wilt under his power, and he didn't. What I saw last night, I'm telling you guys right now, and this is what I believe, Karen would give anybody in that division trouble from what I saw last night. This Ukrainian fighter is a tough dude. And I'm telling you that um Jaron can crack. And for him to sit there and take those shots, but as you can see with each round, like Jaron Boots Ennis wasn't paying attention to his father. They were having a like he his ego was like on full display, like he was being like hard-headed in the match. Had he listened to his father, you ever know that you ever hear the expression you can make shit harder for yourself? And I think Jaron Boots Ennis made the fight harder for himself. I really believe that he does possess the kind of skills that if he would have like worked off the jab more and given Karen a more respect as a boxer. And I think Karen did his homework, him and his team. When you fight a guy for the second time, you're a little bit more familiar, and I hats off to him. I think he fought a great fight. I think it was a competitive fight. I don't think that the scorecards really tell the story of the fight. Jaron Boots Ennis was doing a little bit more to win some of these rounds, and some of these rounds could have flip flopped either way. But you know, I hope that he learned from this. There were a lot of boxers this week that I saw a lot of matches I want to get into with you that we can discuss, like Abdullah Mason, a lot. Even the Schofield, even the Keyshawn Davis. I want to get into all of that. And a lot of these young men are gonna learn, and they learn valuable lessons in boxing. Abdullah Mason was dropped twice, came back, he showed grit. And it depends as fans. A lot of people got all over Schofield and said he was exposed. Abdullah gets dropped, he fights adversity. It's how you view it, you see. But I think all these guys right here, let's keep it on Jaron Boots Ennis right now because he seems to be the topic. One, Ryan Garcia needs to stay in his lane. Yeah, Ryan Garcia could hurt any man with that left check hook. I don't think he has the skills to land it. That's one thing to have a punch, but I think Jaron Boots Ennis is better than just blocking one punch. So let's put some respect on Jaron Boots Ennis' name. He's a world champion. Ryan has never fought for a world championship, like you stated, and that's just like that. We see this every day in boxing, cloud chasing. We accused Keyshawn Davis of cloud chasing, and when I had that interview with him, I was honest and I said, brother, you have 11 fights, right? And right after I made that statement that I got off, I didn't really want to like go at Keyshawn because, I want to interview these fighters, right? So right after that, no sooner after that, I realized one thing that a lot of people are saying that Keyshawn Davis with 11 fights is cloud chasing and that he doesn't deserve a fight with Tank Davis. But wait a minute. David the Monster Benavidez is about to fight David Morale. And they're saying that that's a mega fight and a mega showdown and that they're fighting the best. But wait a minute, David Morale only got 11 fights. So how are you taking a guy with 11 fights, boosting it up, saying it's one of the best fights, but Keyshawn with 11 fights is clout chasing? And now Keyshawn went 12 fights now, but I'm talking at the time he had 11. Now he won this fight. You see what I'm going with that?
Yeah. So let me interject real quick. So and to kind of like piggyback off some of the stuff you're saying, and like I said in the chat, feel free to jump in. Round 1 was the first one to come in. He's ready, ding ding, like you said. Round 1 sports talk. So pretty much, what kind of has been the story, like you brought the Floyd Schofield, the Abdullah Masons. I mean, even on the card that Jaron fought on, Khalil Cole. I think he was the one that had it the worst out of all the upcoming. Like, there's a lot of hype, right? And Floyd Schofield battled adversity. We saw that, overcame it. We saw Abdullah Mason handle adversity, got dropped twice. There's holes in these guys' plans, but they're developmental things that at that point they should be able to kind of progress and move on, right? Khalil Cole, unfortunately, came up short. Took a tough guy, right? It was a 1-20, I think, underdog.
20-1 underdog, yeah.
And
he was.
And he had the worst because he got dropped and stopped and he lost, right? So for Jaron Ennis, right, the perspective is that everyone has already been wanting to see him fight Terrence Crawford, the pound for pound guy. As you should call out, right? But the only one that was able to achieve it, right, over this weekend, was Keyshawn Davis, and granted, he took a big test himself, and you can see that when it comes to pedigrees and stuff like that, the one that achieved that at that level was a silver medalist. So it was a person who kind of had a lot of experience and seen a lot of different styles, right, and be familiar with.
Well, I think that Boots Ennis and Terrence Crawford are rubbing off on that kid. I saw in Keyshawn Davis a patience in that fight I hadn't seen before. I seen that when Keyshawn Davis was in the moment, he even said it after the fight. He didn't look for the knockout. That's a clear case when you allow the knockout to occur. His patience and seeing the guy's punches, he was able to capitalize on the guy's mistake. And he really hurt him. And then when he saw that he had him hurt, he put him away, and kudos to him. Now, this is a very important fight in many ways. The gentleman came in 6 pounds overweight. He weighed in an astounding 141 pounds. And right away, right, a lot of fans were like, oh my God, this man should be arrested. This is a crime. 6 pounds, really? But they're not taking into account everything that, look, this guy was left 135 and went up to 140 and fought Richard Hitchin, right? And then you put a bag of money in front of a guy's face and say, can you make weight? The bag of money's right. Of course he's going to say he's going to make it. He couldn't make that weight. He was a 140 pounder. So you bring him down and fight Keyshawn Davis. Then he comes at 6 pounds. What happens in this moment is they alert the fighters. They have like a little meeting. They tell Keyshawn Davis, look, your brothers are going to fight in the card. You have the right to pull out. We're going to pay you so much, and there'll be another night, right? But he says, no, I'm going to go forward. What happens if he goes forward and he would have lost? Fans would have been like, no, he cheated. So this guy really couldn't win either way, right? So Keyshawn goes out there and says and proves to the world that skills will beat a weight bully. Skills will beat a weight bully. And he basically proved it. You know, with 3 pounds coming in overweight, there everybody was complaining. This was a man that was 6 pounds next day, 144 on the second weigh-in. I get it. He didn't really blow up, you know, but I really think that yeah. Now it's up to your opinion.
Now,
right?
let me interject real quick.
Go
You
ahead.
said he didn't blow up, right? And just kind of like going off to some of the things about Lemos' career, right? So
Right.
Lemos was he was originally actually competing around like 135 and things like that, but he had to move
Originally.
up, and he had to
Yes.
move up, right? At that point, he was able to make the 140 limit, right? But in the Keyshawn fight, he
Comfortably.
actually came in heavier than the weight class that he actually was competing in.
Right.
He came in 8 pounds prior to the Richardson Hitchens fight of another fight, and
Really.
so originally that wasn't his first time being that heavy. That wasn't even the heaviest he's ever been. He's been 8 pounds
Right.
over. So I think kind of like you're saying, I wanted to harp on the patience, right? Not looking for the knockouts. When I went to Norfolk and interviewed and talked to Keyshawn, he said I didn't even think I was going to knock him out. Meaning he wasn't looking for the knockout. The meaning he was poised and patient. And even though there's a
Right.
huge expectation that's on him to perform and show out in front of the home crowd that he presented
Wow.
10,000 people, right? He still had the expectation that I'll probably go the distance with this guy, and he was content with that. I know that
Right.
Jaron had the expectation from the fight fans that he needs to knock him out. He needs to knock him out.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
see that because you felt like he was trying to do that. And he told me 5 months ago, I asked him, what happened in that fight? Jaron said, well, I was looking for the knockout. So when I fought Villa, I kind of relaxed and had some fun. And that's why you were able to see the performance I did with Villa. So it seems like he reverted back somewhat to the same mistakes a little bit, looking for the knockouts after he started
Right.
getting touched up. I think it wasn't maybe the initial game plan, but when he started getting touched up, then I think he started to resort to a more physical style. So when he dropped Karen in the 5th round, he went high guard and pressured him. He had success with that adjustment, which was a good adjustment, but Karen made an adjustment himself and learned not to be in
Yeah.
that position. So that sense of top great fighters is constantly making the adjustments, and Jaron didn't make the adjustments. It seemed like Bozy and Jaron didn't have a chemistry to make an adjustment flow between them. If it was Bozy's
Mhm.
fault, Jaron, or just them together.
I think it was Jaron's stubbornness,
Mm-hmm.
being stubborn as a fighter. I'm sorry I broke you up, but I
No,
thought
you're fine.
I really thought that sometimes as a fighter, you know, you want to do the driving, and there's two sets of eyes in there. There's you that's in front of the guy, and there's your corner that's watching everything from the outside. You know, when your corner's coming in telling you, hey, tighten this up, shorten this, use the jab, it's for a reason. And when you're not doing what they're saying, it, you know, it goes to show like, I think Jaron was like, I think he bought into the fact leading into the fight, this guy shouldn't be in here with me. I should be fighting somebody else for a bigger bag. The what you listen, Ron G, you hit it right there, nail on head boom when you stated. I don't like to hear that when he said, "Oh, I didn't really feel like I had to get up for this fight. You know, I had a problem with that." Then Ed Hearn kind of doubled down on that. And it's hinting to the fact that what? He didn't take this guy serious? You didn't train that hard because he wasn't a big name? So whose fault is that? So you made the fight harder. And it speaks to these athletes got to understand that you have to take every opponent at this level serious. They're trying to take away everything you have. Karen's in there in the gym trying to kill himself, trying to be the next Ukraine and inspire his nation. We all know what they're going through, right? This man is coming in there fighting his heart out. And you mean to tell me you're telling the fans, oh, I wasn't that motivated for this fight. You know? And these guys got to understand that every fight from here on in, people are trying to take your spot. You know, so I think that you're going to get the best out of these guys at the top level. I think it was a great fight, but you know, for the I saw on shouts out to Fight Hype. All right, your boy there interviewed Karen after the fight, and he asked him. He said, "Yo, everything that Jaron Boots Ennis hit me with hurt." He said, even when he threw the shot, it looked like it just went slow. He said, but it hurt. He's doing the interview and he's got an inswell on his face. That should tell you he's like still with the inswell while doing the interview. You know, so I'm telling you that guy is admitting Jaron Boots Ennis can crack. And if you think a kid like Ryan Garcia is going to come in, you know, Ryan Garcia is a talented kid, but he's what I considered wasted talent. He never really evolved from the moment he came in the game. Remember when he was at like 135 with Tank Davis, Devin Haney, all of them? Can you honestly say that Ryan Garcia has gotten better like these guys did? Like the Tanks, like the Devins, like the T.O.s? All of them got better from the time they were the Four Horsemen. Ryan Garcia looks exactly the way he did then as he did in the Devin Haney fight.
Now, real quick. I got Kota jumping in. I'll give you a minute to wrap up. I'm gonna bring you in, Kota. Any closing statements on the Jaron Ennis performance, and let alone can Ryan Garcia knock out Jaron Ennis?
That would be something I would have to see if Ryan Garcia could knock out Jaron Boots Ennis. I doubt that. Jaron Boots Ennis has fought much bigger guys. He's a natural 147 pounder. Ryan Garcia, you know, he's growing into his body. That's doubtful for me. As touching it real quick, closing it up. Subriel Matias did his thing. Congratulations to a man scoring a second round knockout. He looked okay in the fight. He got touched up a little bit, but I want to see some more of him. As far as Bam Rodriguez, you know, Chocolito is I believe the only way to go from him. As far as Raymond Ford, he looked amazing at 130. He looked stronger. It looked like his cardio hold up. I believe that's why he did lose his fight now, because of the weight drain against Ball, because he absolutely looked amazing at his new weight division. I want to see some more Raymond Ford. There was just so much boxing. I got so much. I'm like, I got a boxing hangover, actually.
No worries. I gotta get Kota in, Ron. I gotta get Kota in, my man.
Yes. So I just wanted to touch on all that, man. Thank you, Ron G, once again for having me on. It's always a pleasure chopping it up with you. And thank you.
Awesome. Everyone follow Round One Sports Talk. He has a YouTube channel, so give him a chance. And appreciate you jumping up here, man. Always being the first one, like your name says, Round One. So
yeah, man, and hit that like button for Ron G right here, my man. He's doing an amazing job. That's what's up, baby. One.
Appreciate all the wisdom, man. See you on the next one.
On the next one.
Kota, can you hear me?
What's going on? What's going on, Ron?
What's going on, man?
What's going on, Fight Hype? You already know we're here.
I'm just going straight right into it. I appreciate you jumping in. You know, the chat is all in here going back and forth, debating on this and that, you know, all different topics. But just first, going straight to you, what did you think about Jaron Ennis' performance? I know the headline, you know, the title sensationalized as can Ryan knock out Boots, because they've been talking back and forth post-conference and stuff. But what did you initially thought about Jaron's performance against Karen in the rematch?
All right, I first want to say, I mean, again, appreciate you for having me up here. I'm big on Jaron. And I'm from PA. I've been over there to Philly. You know what I'm saying? I was saying the entire fight. I mean, like he just looks tired. Honestly, for one, I want to start with the coaching in the corner. Um, that's not a unless you got a bet for a knockout, like that's not, I don't feel like that's a way, talk to your fighter when he's honestly like doing a good job. Like you bring your fighter's confidence down. After the fight, you seen like Jaron Boots Ennis, his he kind of like seemed embarrassed of his performance. And I mean, like that, that's self-criticism, because he wants to be great, and that's the competitiveness in inside of him. But I don't think like that's how you talk to your fighter. You're talking about second round, oh, go in there and stop him. I mean, like you got a grown man in there that is a mandatory for the IBF, and this is a rematch. I mean, and this time he's using angles, and Karen just got great defense, man. He was it's not on Jaron. He's just a fighter that is hard to look good against. And I mean, on Jaron's performance, he was he was like smothering his shots. He was leaning in a little bit, like but I do want to say like about the clinching. He was initiating those clinches, and I think it was like a little strategic so that the like ref can take a point off. Um, I think he was doing that on purpose so that he can't clinch anymore. But there wasn't stabs to the body. He wasn't avoiding via boots, and I think it's not because, aside from the coaching, I don't think it's because of anything aside from the fact that he was weight drained. So your legs aren't really under you. This is the first time we've seen Jaron Boots Ennis really get tired. You know what I'm saying? And he wasn't really using feints. He wasn't really going to the body. Um, it was like that wasn't Boots Ennis. We know Boots Ennis, and that wasn't him. Aside from the fact that he felt Karen's power and he didn't feel like Karen could hurt him, just like David Evanesia. So, he's gonna get in there and fight so that he can open you up. But the coaching really bothered me last night. I mean, that was my initial like thought of the whole thing. It really bothered me. It really bothered me.
Can I ask, and all the stuff you're saying is, the stuff they kind of like spoke about, the weight cut, they want to move up to 154.
Yeah.
You talked about maybe, hey, the motivation. You visibly seen the coaching and how they didn't have, a connection. It's been like heavily criticized online. But from like a technical aspect, right? And, I know you're from Philly. I've been covering Boots for a very long time. I know Bozy and Boots, his family and things of that nature. So, like, this is, I guess, my honest take, right? And when anytime anyone has a great performance, we praise it, right? Anytime
For sure, for sure.
we respectfully talk
For
about what
sure.
we felt was. So, over the last couple fights, right? A lot of times people have mentioned that his offense is at 99, but maybe a defense, there's sometimes he might get hit too much. We've seen in the Sergey Lipinets fight. Do you feel like he relies so much more on his athleticism, right? Like, like when Roy was a freakish athlete, which he kind of got away with a lot of stuff, still was an Olympian and should have been a gold medalist, right? So there's technical aspects that he has, but they've always compared that when fighters rely too much on their athleticism, they can make a mistake. We've seen Abdullah's freakish athleticism last week make a slight mistake, overcame that adversity, but those athletic fighters, Floyd Schofield, be physically strong and explosive, still caught these mistakes. Do you feel like Jaron relies too much on that athleticism versus a guy who had a lot of amateur background, those Eastern European guys with them off rhythm steps? So you think he needs to kind of go back and actually fundamentally make himself stronger in that department?
I want to say yes, but again, it has to do a lot with the weight class, and I was like, watching it with my dad, and I was telling him throughout the fight, man, he just can't do it. Like, when you're dropping, I don't understand this thing about, oh, weight bullying, like draining yourself to like be better. It just doesn't really even make sense to me. Like, I mean, I know like people talk about the whole snack thing or whatever, and like, rehydrating, but it just really doesn't make sense to me. When you fight, look at Usyk, honestly, like, Usyk is at, he was at cruiserweight, became undisputed. He went up to heavyweight, and he looks great. You know why? Because he's not really draining himself, so he doesn't have to worry about getting tired. And then your brain is the last thing to rehydrate, as we all know. So like, then you like mentally start getting like fatigued. Aside from like your legs not being under you, so yeah, I do think he relies on his athleticism a little bit too much, but if he wasn't weight drained, we seen what he does while relying on his athleticism. And he does got great defense. Again, like when the brain is not hydrated, you get mentally fatigued, and then like you start doing like fatigue is it don't matter how great you are. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter how great and your skills are or your athleticism, but if you're drained, and then you get fatigued. So yes, but then again, I feel like he can. If he's not drained, I feel like he can. We've seen it with Royman Villiers, so and stuff like that. So
I get what
I
you're
don't know.
saying. So then I guess as a rebuttal to it, right? Because all the smoke is at 154, right? And I know the goal and dream
Sure,
is to be a welterweight undisputed champion, which we all know at the end of the day, being able to do that, it's a lot of business and politics and time and somewhat luck, right?
for sure.
To be able to clear out the division and get name by name, having those same names in the same promotional company, or fighting the right guys that have the belts at the right moment. Kind of like Devin when he got the opportunity to fight Cambosis for a majority of
Yeah,
the belt. So at that point, with this fight kind of not being motivating for him, right? The weight cut being an issue, and all the smoke is at 154, right? Why why even take the Karen rematch? Why not just already do something like jump up to 154 and not fight a guy if you're not going to be motivated, if you're not going to essentially, I guess, come in there without the intentions of looking great against a guy but falling flat. You know what I'm saying? Like, why not just already get rid of the belt, avoid all that, go to 154, which everyone already wants you. That's where Crawford's at. People was trying to matchmake you against the guy that beat Tim Tszyu Bakram so that you can be a roadblock for him. Go out fight Virgil Ortiz, maybe. Like, why just waste time at a fight where people really didn't want to see, and now he didn't really look great in it?
I I think I think he was just trying to become undisputed. I know one of Boots' goals is to be undisputed in the most weight classes. Well, obviously in this four belt era, and the most weight classes of anybody in boxing history. So I think when he fought Avenesia, I mean, it was it's not hard for him to make the weight, but he didn't feel fatigued against Avenesia. So I think he was thinking he can still do it. And before Avenesia, I mean, with the Royman Villa fight, and he hasn't really been that active. So, with his whole manager, rest in peace, his late great manager, you know what I'm saying? With the whole managing situation from, PBC and then to the
You talking about
zone.
Cameron Duncan?
Yeah, Cameron, yeah. He was inactive for a while. So he was 147 and he was feeling great. Um with that inactivity, like he could still make 147 and all that. And again, he fought David Avija. I don't think he felt fatigued, but you haven't been that active, and I feel like he felt it last night. So he still wanted to be undisputed at this weight class, and he was just getting like the mandatory out the way. So the plans were to stay at 147 and be undisputed, but he felt it last night, and I'm glad he was honest. I'm glad he was honest and said, like, you know what, 154 is where I gotta be. I don't like that he said unless one of these guys stop playing and then like we can get a unification. I don't like that he said that because Karen's a great fighter, no doubt for sure. But Mario Barrio is a great fighter, and well, Brandon Norman Jr. and the other guy, what's his name? I forget
Dan
his name.
Jonas?
Sanyonis, yeah. Um, they're good. They're good fighters too, and they're champions. So it's gonna be, they're in there like fighting for their belt too. I don't like that he said that. I mean, just move up to 154. We saw that he's just he can't get tired like that versus certain fighters, and then he can't get hit like that versus certain fighters that are cracking. I mean, he was bullying. He was getting hit with these punches, and it wasn't even hurting him. I know he takes steam off of them, but it's like, dude, like. I don't understand how he wasn't getting hurt. You're just too big for the weight class, and you're tired. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like dude said, Karen was saying everything was hurting me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just think he needs to move up to 154. But I think that's why. I think he, fought David Avenija and he had a good performance. I don't. People say he got hit too much, but he made that fight like that because he didn't think David Avenija has anything for him. So, you know, I, that's why I think he took that fight because he was trying to be undisputed. But he saw yesterday it's not working.
So the realization came from this, and
Yeah,
understandable.
yeah.
And I guess to throw the monkey wrench in, right, which is just the fact that Ryan was talking trash on Twitter, and Jaron acknowledged like, hey, let's go ahead, let's do it, right? Which probably it won't happen. But if the Jaron Ennis that we saw, who stayed at 147, if he says he's weight drained and all that stuff, and Ryan fought and landed hooks, could Ryan knock out Jaron Boots Ennis?
Ryan's a puncher, bro. Ryan's been a puncher his whole life, bro. Listen, it's like for Tank. Don't nobody got a chin for Tank at 135. You can't take a punch like that. I don't care who you are, bro. Like, don't know you. Ryan's a puncher. He's been a puncher his whole life. Fuck, excuse my language. Forget about all that Osterine stuff or whatever the case may be. Osterine is not really a real PED. I mean, like I'm saying, it's to build fat into muscle. I mean, it's used for bones as well. Like it's not a steroid, as so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So Ryan's a puncher, bro. Like, and he wasn't really in shape versus Devin, if we're gonna be honest. If he comes at 147 and he's not drained and he really, really trains and he got a good corner with Derek James over there, bro, can't nobody take a left hook. Like, I mean, Brian's left hook is honestly one of the best I've ever seen. It's just, and Devin Haney's left side of his face and left side of his jaw was all swollen. So the right hand was a story in that fight as well. It wasn't only the left hook, sort of. So I mean, no, I don't think I really do think, and I'm a big Jaron Ennis fan. I really do think if he takes that fight and he looks like he did yesterday, Ryan's gonna give him problems. I don't care what nobody says. Ryan's a 15-time national champion. He can box, bro. He's not stupid like people think. Like he's not crazy, So I don't think he should take that fight at 147. I don't think so. Not looking like that, at least. Absolutely not.
Got it. Well, look, Kota. I'll ask one last thing before letting you go. In case another caller wants to jump in and talk. How do you see Jaron Ennis holding up at the 154 division if he jumps up? Can he compete with Bakram, the guy that just demolished Tim Tszyu, Fedor, who beat Tim, bloodied up, in a bloody massacre kind of fight, but with that range? Madrimov and Buyacek, the losers of Virgil and Crawford, but Eastern European style once again. A guy like
Well,
Aaron
Hotshot won
comes
that fight.
and then lastly Virgil Ortiz, because the Crawford and Boots fight probably ain't gonna happen. It's gonna be hard to go against Bud at any point, especially after. But Virgil Ortiz and Boots seemed like the most realistic fight to actually happen maybe next. So that's what they're calling for. So does Boots go to 154 and do some damage to these guys, especially Virgil Ortiz?
And Boots not drained, bro. I mean, he's he's the he's the epitome of boxing, of strong fighter, the strong puncher, and and fighting and punching the boxer. I mean, like he knows what style he has to bring into the ring against what fighter, certain or specific opponent he has in that night. Um, Boots not drained, bro. I think he's running through people. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. That's just how I feel. Boots, bro. I've seen things, bro.
Do you think he runs through Bud? I guess because someone asked me in the chat to ask you, does he run through Bud?
Listen, Bud has had problems with other people. There's a fight I bring up a lot when this debate comes up. Kell Brook, you know what I'm saying? When Kell Brook came back down after GGG, I know he had the eye surgery and all that, and I mean in the fracture, and that's a big reason why Bud was successful in that fight because it was 5 rounds, but he was losing 4 rounds to nothing. Like go back and look at the fight. You know what I'm saying? It's not, and I'm a huge Bud fan as well. So, um, Kell Brook was giving him certain looks with the jab, really, that Bud was having problems with. But Bud countered, he countered over that jab, and it was like a weird left, like up jab, shovel jab kind of punch, but right in the eye, and then it just, the eye fracture. I mean, like that, it really hurt him too much, and he took a knee, like because he got punched in the eye. Bro, I think Boots runs over anybody if he's healthy, bro. I really do. I mean, I really do. Honestly, he's not gonna fight Bud how he fought yesterday. Like, come on, let's be honest. Let's put the fanboyism aside. Even me, like, I'm from PA and all that or whatever. But fanboyism aside, it'd be a great fight because they're the most skillful fighters in the world, in my opinion. But I've seen success in Bud in a lot of things that Boots can bring to the table. And he's not gonna sit there and trade with Bud in the first half of the fight. Let me say that. So
What's really interesting before I let you go on the Kell Brook fight? Did I know that you mentioned in his eye and stuff like that? The Kell Brook fight was the fight that let me know that he was actually going to beat Spence and hurt him with a jab. And I know that I have it on record because the thing is, the Kell Brook fight is so easily to be dismissed because you're like, all right, he comes down to weight, he's damaged good, he's been stopped, all that stuff, right? Oh, look, he can't essentially take a jab, right? And it makes sense. That philosophy and everything that you're saying is right. But the battle of the jab, Kell Brook has a great jab.
for sure.
But the way that he came over the jab, right, was immediately mirrored and bettered in the Spence fight, which lets me know that maybe Kell Brook wasn't simply just chinny, but actually got hit with a legitimate, solid, good shot from a jab, right? Regardless of his circumstance in his face, because that same type of pattern of a solid, strong, powerful jab existed into the Spence fight. So it's very hard to tell what Bud's situation, because I think a lot of times, his opponents don't necessarily tell his capabilities, right? Because really, if you look at it, his easiest fights was the notable names. His toughest fights was the Eastern European guys like the Karen and
For
Boots,
sure.
right? The
For
Mean
sure.
Machine, the Mazurmov. He didn't
For
bang
sure.
with Postal. He had a box Postal.
Yeah.
But
And it went 12
everyone
rounds.
else got stopped. So it's really hard, and it might maybe be this is my thing. It might just been a very difficult style for Boots too. That Eastern European style that doesn't get a lot of credit and needs to be studied more because it's so easy to kind of roll that side off. Lomachenko is the most notable next to Usyk. Those two guys. So when those fight, they get the credit if you lose.
Oh
But
yeah, but yeah, no, I understand. Correct, bro. Current, like his timing is just off rhythm. I mean, like great footwork. He has great instincts. Um, quick counters. Like reflexes are good. Like his timing is weird, off rhythm. He's punching within the movement, bro. I mean, nah, can't nobody take nothing away from like Karen. I think it is Karen. Can't nobody take nothing away from it, bro. He's a great fighter. He's a great fighter. I mean, yeah, no, he's a great fighter. And that Eastern European style is difficult for sure. Yeah,
awesome. Well, look, I appreciate you, Kota, always coming in, showing some love, man. You know what I mean?
you already know.
And
We're here, baby. We're here.
and if anything, just jump in anytime. You round one, you guys came and showed some love. So
For sure,
ultimately,
for sure.
at any time, please, you have the floor. Feel free to
I'll
express
be here,
yourself.
brother.
That's what the platform's there for. And granted, if anything, man, we'll be doing this a lot more. So appreciate it, man.
You already know. Appreciate you. Appreciate you having me.
All right. So once again, like I said, I appreciate round one. I appreciate Kota for jumping in. Granted, if any of you guys want to jump in, chat, give your opinion on the platform, talk, I'll be happy to leave it there in the pin section. So if you want to essentially rebuttal to some of the talking points, not just me, but the people on here, and really, I kind of want to just get to the chat because I don't want you guys to feel like you guys have neglected. I've been reading some of the stuff in here. Obviously, the top of the portions to Ryan Garcia. Brian, my man, says, will Ryan be clean or will he be on Osterin? I mean, let's do both. Let's do clean Ryan. Does clean Ryan stop? Can knock out Boots? Can he? And if clean Ryan can stop, then we know Osterin Ryan can, right? So, Gus says Bam was the main event. Look, I know they advertise for 2 Kings, and this is definitely not a shot at Boots, right? But when it comes to actually proving yourself, right? And I see the raw talent that Boots has. I think Boots has the capabilities of being that, but he hasn't really, and he's chasing it, right? But he hasn't accomplished the stuff that Bam has, right? Bam, oh yeah, I mean, we I gave round 1 like an X amount of time, so I'm trying to keep the but we can cook on a whole bunch of stuff. There's so many fights. Yep. Don't worry, Code. Maybe I'll bring you back later on as a rebuttal. So, to a lot of the chat. But pretty much Bam at the age of 24 has kind of mirrored somewhat like what Pacquiao has done in the past, right? Not in the 8 divisions and all that stuff, but there was an era amongst like legends in that time frame. You got Morales, you got Barrera, Marquez existed at that time frame. You come in that time and you were able to beat all those guys. You're a bad boy. You're a bad boy. Similar to Bam Rodriguez, you got Carlos Quadros, who he beat. Rungvisai, who went to war with Estrada and Chocolatito. He beat Estrada. He stopped Estrada. He stopped Rungvisai. He's saying he's open to Roman Chocolatito. He is building himself around. Granted, I know these guys have been veterans and been on a lot of wars and stuff like that, but still, he was able to solidify himself with great names and had great performances. He fought an equal rival age opponent, Sonny Edwards, undefeated, to make a unification fight, which we all hope Boots was able to do potentially with Brian Norman. As a business move, it's hard for me to say what should have been done and what shouldn't, but I really wish that at some point that the Brian Norman and Jaron Ennis fight was actually able to be made, right? Because I'm sure if he felt he wasn't motivated because of Karen, well, then you would have been motivated for Brian, right? And it was a $250,000 that was publicly discussed that was the holdup because the Norman team felt that regardless of their financial ties, they still wanted a walk away profit of $1 million plus. That was their ultimate. And they told him, these were our obligations. Can you meet us here so that we can profit this? They didn't meet them there. They couldn't negotiate. So the IBF mandated the Karen fight, and that's the story there. Regardless if Norman was outpricing himself, or granted if Eddie was not investing, or Jaron was withholding money from not actually wanting to pay his opponent, regardless of whatever side that you felt, it's unfortunate because that would have been a very meaningful fight last night. An extremely meaningful fight, which ultimately would have helped solidify a division that ultimately is dead after Crawford and Spence left. It's a completely dead division that needs to get re-put together, and that would have been the first piece of doing it. So it's a huge unfortunate, and right now I think Bam by far is the king as advertised on that card, and he was definitely for sure the big star, like the great performance, like star making performance for sure. Bam did everything, and not once again shooting at Boots. Bam did everything in his fight that Boots should have did in his, and that's just me just trying to be honest. That's just me trying to be honest. Bam did better ring generalship, cutting the ring off, level changes, variety of punches, distance, defense, and punching in between punches. I mean, the guy he was facing was a former champion as well, fought tough champions. So you got to take your hat off and say Bam had a great performance. So, what up, Boxing One? He said all the hype jobs exposed. Davis brothers, Abdullah, Cormel, Kid Austin, Khalil Cole. Khalil Cole got it pretty bad, man. He got it pretty bad. Man, what's with y'all naming your YouTube channels these names? Brian was accepting those offers in bad faith. He was effing hurt. No way he could have fought Boots or any amount of money. I mean, I really don't know exactly what was in his camp situation, but by all means, if he was accepting in that bad faith, it would have been one of those fights where you accepted it. It is what it is. They gave Devin Haney shit for the 3 pounds and all that because you accepted a fight. If Keyshawn Davis did not do his thing, if Keyshawn Davis did not fight Gustavo Lemos and do his thing. And if he lost that night, they would have been like, you accepted a fight of that 6 pound over the weight limit kind of fight. That's your problem. You know what I mean? We don't want boxing. Unfortunately, is one of those spaces, and it's kind of getting worse in my opinion. But they don't really want to hear the other side. It's almost like they don't want to hear excuses. You shouldn't have took the fight. If you were hurt, you should have pulled out. Whatever the circumstances, you shouldn't have been fought. That's just what it is. And when it comes to Ryan failing his test, I mean, you gotta, I guess, give Devin Haney the benefit, right? I mean, you can still look at him and be like, well, I see technical flaws you had in the Ryan fight. Absolutely. I feel the same way. But you also have to give him that slight benefit of the doubt, or I can't say slight. You have to give him the benefit of the doubt because Ryan failed the drug test. So, but you see it all the time. So if Brian took the fight, it would have been no excuses. Really, at the end of the day, how Boots is getting treated online right now, even though, you know, my man Kota came on here in his defense and broke down all his logical explanations and reasonable perspectives, nobody is going to give Boots any type of leeway. Karen was a rematch. You accepted it. You should have went to 154 if you felt that way. Granted, now you're saying you need a better opponent to be taken serious. Yada, yada, yada. So really, no one's really going to give Jaron Ennis any of that stuff. So really, he just didn't look like the beast that everyone made him out to be, which is okay. Boxing is very fickle. 1 minute you look great. The next minute, you know. So ultimately, I can definitely say that isn't a learning experience for a lot of these guys, you know. And Jaquan says Karen should have been easy work. You know, the thing about Karen's situation, right? And I look at it fairly because I do respect a lot of Eastern European fighters, especially if they go through the IBF. You know, IBF just don't give mandatory positions just to, like, you know, you earn that for the most part. So, and they force it and they strip champions, you know, regardless if there's contract obligations or not. Like, that's kind of what happened with Crawford. So with Karen could potentially be a great fighter. He could be a guy that could potentially beat a lot of the 147 champions. But the problem is that Jaron has accepted the kind of acknowledgement, and the hype has been heavily pushed that Jaron Ennis is this phenomenal talent and this work that, I mean, this masterful second coming of Roy Jones, and he's able to beat Spence and Crawford without any essentially step up fights. He is this freakish pound for pound guy that can athletically match his IQ, and his IQ and his athleticism is just unreal. Like, so because of that comparison and saying like everybody's avoiding him, he has to put on performances that merit the hype, regardless if he accepts it or not, which he does accept it, right? He does kind of wear it very heavily. He's going to have to take that same criticism. So because of that, his criticism is not at a level of like, you know, Karen's a good fighter and you're a good fighter. That was a good fight. No, the criticism is you're supposed to be pound for pound. The promotion on the card was two kings, 2 pound for pound kings, Bam Rodriguez and Jaron Ennis. These guys are supposed to run the sport. That is how it's been advertised. That's the promotion, that's the buildup, that's the marketing, and that's how you have kind of embraced that card. Bam did his part. He looked like the beast. He looked like the monster that, you know, essentially the monster. People are starting to compare him. Hey, you and anyone need to fight each other, right? That's kind of what it is. So Jaron, with the same type of, you know, comparisons and things like that, he had to perform at what is an unrealistic expectation, but that's what guys like that do. They compete and they look like they are absolutely incapable of getting an opponent that can even present any problems. And because he had problems, that was already giving issues. Then he started getting hit a lot. Then he started getting frustrated. Then you saw kind of somewhat late round fatigue. You started to see the lack of head movement. You saw the lack of creativity. You saw the concern on his face, maybe looking out the ring and things like that. All those type of things is the reason why everyone is now heavily criticizing and just bashing and destroying Boots. You can't get this type of praise above everybody else, and then when you have a subpar performance, think you're just going to just be kind of getting the same type of criticism. No, you are going to get dragged down to the bottom of the whole entire boxing world, like all the way to the bottom. And that's what happens. You're considered a hype job. You're considered trash. You're considered all these type of things. Your opponent that you face could be good, and you will never get the credit of it at all. Sounds like Terrence Crawford. Sounds like Floyd Mayweather. Sounds like, which many people feel about Canelo Alvarez, which many people can disagree. You know what I mean? I'm just throwing names in there. That's what happens when you see it. Canelo went and fought Bivol, right? You know what I mean? Soon find out later Bivol's actually a really good fighter. Madrimov, we're about to really find out. I mean, we seen Mean Machine, who Crawford fought, gave Virgil a lot of problems. So it's not only a moment of time to see what Karen does to help Boots' case, because if Karen goes off and demolishes the 140 division, then that just makes Boots look better. But for right now, you're getting all the smoke. You're getting destroyed. You're getting everything. Ryan Garcia can knock you out if he hits you with this, that, boom. Omax says Eddie was looking at Boots crazy after the fight. He doesn't believe anymore. Boots gets whooped by everyone at 154. Mayweather has never fought professionally outside of America. I mean, yeah. And some people, point fire to make your point, some people are able to get in certain type of paths and certain positions that necessarily don't need them, require them to leave America. So Floyd was one of those type of fighters. Crawford, on the other hand, had to go to the UK. Errol Spence had to go to the UK. Timothy Bradley had to travel, So some of these guys don't have the luxury of it, but ultimately everyone's path is completely different. And when you're in that position of hype and attention and pound for pound, I mean, look how they dragged Shakur with the De Los Santos fight, And even for a certain point of Tank's career, Pitbull Cruz was a little bit of that kind of guy that kind of made people look at Tank a little bit. But then Pitbull then got a crazy fanfare, and it just helped Tank really a lot more. So ultimately, fighters will always come across adversity. Even Inoue, right? Point fire. Inoue will move up to weight classes that Tank doesn't have the discipline to trim 130. Oh, yeah, you're talking about that. Inoue, even though he fought a Hall of Famer, a legend, a multi-division champion, Nonito Donaire, when Nonito Donaire was cracking Inoue, people were looking at Inoue like, I knew you weren't that guy, buddy. I knew you were not that guy. I remember just a lot of people just kind of going with that. Same with Usyk when he fought Derek Chisora. And I'll be genuinely transparent, honest. I have picked against Usyk every major big fight. When his undisputed cruiserweight, I picked against him, I was wrong. When he fought Joshua for the first time, I was wrong. When he fought Fury, I was wrong. Because he's had subpar performances in between where there's guys like, I would assume at the time, that he should beat a Daniel Dubois. He should not struggle with Derek Chisora. He shouldn't be being touched by Witherspoon. So for a while, Usyk, in my opinion, was getting the same type of major criticism. But it took for consistent major big fights for him to prove to the world that he was that guy. And maybe that's what Boots has been saying. Get me in with some of these big guys and I'll show you. Like the Karens of the world and the David Avenesians and stuff like that is really just a level of playing field that I just don't rise above. I just match. And that's not a good thing either. We're not going to promote that, right? But at the end of the day, it's so much easier when you know that there's a guy that in your mind has been perceived as the guy that's so much better than you in public eye, can destroy you. You have the threat and the concern. It might turn on a different switch. It might. But you can't go into every fight thinking like you have to have that type of motivation. And hopefully Boots learned from that. And the criticism that he's going to hear is going to be valid, fair, honest, and truthful, and a lot of hate too. But really, if he can read between all that and take from what people are trying to explain why they thought he was so great, and then the shortcomings in that fight that made him not maybe believe anymore, can actually benefit him to be an extremely better fighter. And that's just speaking just from an honest perspective. You know, I'm not trying to sugarcoat and pander, you know. These are things that these guys have to experience and probably shouldn't get the praise until they go through this stuff first. So I really think that this was probably, if not maybe, one of the best things for Jaron Ennis, if he's that guy. So OJFA says Ryan would definitely give Boots problems. I mean, he was eating lefts and rights and lefts and rights. Kota comes back in the chat and says Karen caught Boots because of counter and timing and footwork, not just hand speed. Boots' arm reach is longer than anybody Ryan fought. You know, I think the thing that Karen was doing was his footwork was really what was helping him set up shots, while it felt like Boots was trying to set up his shots with his hands, if that kind of makes sense. A lot of the footwork and movement that I know Boots is capable of doing wasn't there. So he struggled to land his shots, and he found himself on the bad end of a couple good combinations between every other round, if not almost every round. So I think Karen's footwork is extremely the big key point of a key part of being able to land those type of shots on Boots. He would turn Boots a lot. So props to Karen, you know, and Karen came in shape, you know, regardless if people feel like Boots is not a one-hitter quitter anymore because he didn't sleep Karen, but you know, he took a lot of punishment in there. And that's the other thing too that I want to kind of say with Boots. I had a conversation with someone in the chat, and obviously I felt like he was trolling, but really ultimately my main point is that even on the scorecards, that it was clearly in favor of Boots with the knockdown, the point deduction, and the rounds that he won. It was not an easy fight. The scorecards you always hear doesn't tell the story of the fight. So when you really actually look at it, he took punishment. Jaron Ennis took punishment in that fight. Not Ward and Gotti and Castillo and Corrales and Fight of the Years type of candidates. Not that. But he took a lot of punishment unnecessarily. Personally, in my opinion. He took a lot of shots that unfortunately will add up throughout his career. And he has shown that he likes to fight and bang it out. And he's fought guys who aren't known as the biggest punchers, but they got some crack. Like David Avanesian got some crack. You know what I mean? Sergey Lipinets, yeah, he's smaller, 140, but he got some crack. You can't take that many punches over your career, because eventually at some point when you actually fight an equal, bona fide puncher that's equal or better, all those punches will wear you down. And sometimes you don't know when your chin goes. That's what I've always heard from boxers. You're one day, you're good, you're solid, you can eat shit, and just boom, boom, I'm good. And then the next day you can't take a punch. And it's really the wear and tear. And you have to be conscious of that if you want to have longevity in the career. If you have goals of moving up in weight, fighting bigger guys that punch harder. Like, these are things that you have to consider, and you can't just go into a fight thinking, hey, I'm not motivated, so X, Y, and Z, I'm just going to just wing it. No, you have to take every single fight as if it's going to put wear and tear on your vehicle, your car. You drive, right? You have to do maintenance, the mileage you put on it, right? It's the same thing about your boxing career. And if you don't drive your car or don't have to really take it out on these long road trips, and you can take these little quick, little simple pit stops here and there and just shortcuts and not the long way, then by the time 20, 15 years from now, your car is still functional, and that's you. So I think Boots really needs to consider that, as well as wanting to have a long, illustrious career in boxing. If he wants to get out in a couple years, then, you know, maybe then he's probably good. But, you know, at a certain point, you have to realize these punches do matter. Regardless if it was 4 years ago, they do add up. They do add up, because that's essentially why I hear boxers always say, my chin's gone. I don't know why he can't take a punch no more. You know, his chin's gone. That saying that his chin is gone doesn't just randomly appear. You know what I mean? And that's why guys who are very defensive minded and prevent punishment you can see later in their career they can take solid punches, solid, strong punches, because they did not take punishment throughout the years. So, sorry, long rant. How can Ryan knock out Boots when he couldn't knock out Haney drugged up? Y'all talk about stupid stuff. I mean, I get what you're saying, and really at the end of the day, people call Devin chinny, and so maybe between Devin maybe not being chinny, right, to maybe you're saying Ryan doesn't have as much power, but there's a thing called collision shots, and Boots definitely has ran into some shots. Devin has definitely kept his head high, and I've seen Boots keep his head high. So it might not be simply just, oh, okay, he didn't knock out Devin, but did you really think Ryan really looked like he prepared for that fight? Just imagine if Ryan was in shape, and I'm using this as without the Austrian, right? Because it's really hard to bring the Ryan Garcia thing and then now discredit. And then not bring up the Austrian and him coming overweight. Like, I'm aware of it. I'm just trying to play out a scenario. Imagine if Ryan actually came in shape. Let's say he came in shape for Boots. He wasn't drinking. He wasn't partying. He wasn't doing all that stupid shit that I actually believe he was. I don't think he was actually training well hard for that fight. And he was able to drop Devin. So, but Austrian overweight, Austrian, right? But so I just wanted to say, like, to a certain point, if he's super fit and super serious, he has a probability of actually landing some serious shots on Boots and potentially, if not knocking him out, buzzing him. I do believe that. I think that Ryan has shown consistency in his power. Even Tank could probably tell you that his power is strong as hell. Tank, the reason why Tank can actually endure those shots is he's just super in shape. He's in flat out just in shape. And to be honest, he doesn't really take punishment as much as well, too. Like, he took a shot or two from Ryan, but that was about it. He didn't really take consistent amount of punishment. So if Ryan is constantly hitting Boots, it can get spooky out there. You know what I mean? It can get a little spooky. You're on point with that, smothering shots and all that. And that's another good point. Some people were mentioning that Boots was smothering. He wasn't measuring his distance. His head was constantly on the line. And even when part of the game, Karen was clinching, holding up, tying up, doing that. Floyd's done it, and Dre's done it. It's part of boxing. So when a guy clinches you, you can't be sitting there like, oh, because even that gives your opponent an advantage psychologically. Like, I'm frustrating him. I'm letting him know. He's letting me know I'm getting in his head. Like, every time that boxers, and listen, all the stuff I'm saying is not really from an experience. It's just me watching and me talking to Hall of Famers, to champions, to Hall of Famers, to undisputed. Like, all these guys have saying the same thing over and over and over and over and over. So what is the difference? There's no difference. They're all great and successful for these same things, the same fundamental stuff. So because of that, you have to look at the situation that's the same. So you can't give an edge to anything in fighting. You can't let them know that you're upset, because when you do, you're giving them a little bit more of your deck of cards. They saw your card. Oh, he got an ace. Oh, he got a, what's that in his hand? Oh, he got a queen. All right. Okay, let me look at my deck. That's what you're doing. So you got to get better at that too. I appreciate it, Point Fire. Your commentary was more on point than TV feed. Outstanding. I was a little lazy. I'll be honest. I was very tired. So I think that when it comes to promotions, I didn't hear the commentary, so I can't really actually critique it. But I think you also have to look at it at the lens of the way I did it, like the business model. Like, this was not Jaron Ennis that took the mandatory, this is not the Jaron Ennis that we expected that took the mandatory rematch as a redemption fight. This was supposed to be his redemption to show the world that the first fight was like that. But it was really Karen's redemption fight to be honest. It was really Karen's coming out party. Everyone knows Karen more based off that fight than really Boots, right? Boots is getting the criticism and Karen gets the praise. So ultimately, hopefully they did a good job about expressing those type of things that Jaron's stock went down. Yeah, Ryan wasn't in shape. Ryan was better in the tank than Devin. Rounds, he wasn't tired at all and still sharp. Ryan's such a really hard guy to really bring into these analogies because he himself actually made a weight lower than Devin. So he came in smaller. He agreed to it, so we don't make excuses. Then he also made and obliged a rehydration. All right. So it makes me wonder psychologically, has that fight affected him in the Devin Haney fight? Where he probably is like, fuck making weight, bro. Like, is he scarred from the Gervonta Tank Davis fight, which he agreed to fight? So, it's really hard to really like say what version was better, right? But I can definitely say that I felt that Ryan trained for Tank, in my opinion. So if that's what we're going off, then I think Ryan potentially was probably a better version, not a fairer version, but a better version, if that makes sense. Pugilism, welcome to the 757 Shark City. Definitely more scope fights down the line for DB3 and Olympian. Silver Bullet Davis. Tank, knock, Davis versus Davis. Pug, are you from the 757 area? Because I had a great time down there. I had a great time down in the 757. I mean, there was some good food. It was very friendly. There was this like water area the hotel was by. It just gave a really nice vibe. Like I was by downtown Norfolk, and I was gonna go to Philly, but I was just tired. I was just tired. I think someone asked me how was the Wells Fargo Arena. I did not attend it. I was because I didn't go to the last one. I wanted to see what it looked like, but you know, probably not the best night anyways to go see Boots. So but yeah, dude, Keyshawn Davis did his thing. Keyshawn looked like the man. I mean, he ultimately, by far, is still, in my opinion, the guy that we carry on over this weekend. You know, Boots underperformed. You know, Mason had a very exciting fight. He gained a lot of fans from that. But the hardcore critics is going to be on him. Khalil Cole, man. Another guy, man, that just fundamentally kind of looked tired. I don't know what the situation was. He fatigued over a short period of time. Maybe he was just a front runner, just keeping a nice and quick, easy stream. I did start at, I think, 12 something. So I'll probably maybe try to come on maybe later tonight if a new topic or something comes on. So I'm just trying to bang out a lot of streams now. I'm trying to get you guys engaged, want to get you guys involved so with different topics and stuff. So I really appreciate Round 1 for jumping on. I appreciate Kota. As always, you know, if you see a live that's up, just hit the notify so that you get the notification. So when the lives comes on, Mayweather tried to sign Boots. His defense would be sharp. Yeah, he did try to sign him. Do you really think Keyshawn's ready? You know, over the 2 days before I go and do my end spill, born, raised. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get to you, Pug. I'm convinced by talking to a lot of people in the public, right? The public really also, like, sometimes they think the public's just dumb casuals, right? There's a lot of casuals of the sport, of the business, and the nuances of the sport. But I think the public can see a guy who has hunger, has dog, has power, has grit, but can be patient, can box, handle pressure, big lights, can step in when he needs to. And really, to be honest, kind of reminiscent of a little bit of Bud. Bud kind of took an offensive counter shot, kind of give one to take one, and he dropped Spence when he was on the ropes. Keyshawn did a little bit of something like that where he offensive countered Gustavo Lemos, and that's what kind of really started sending Lemos to the floor. kind of catching them coming in, a collision. Two cars crashing into each other versus a car just crashing into a parked car. Two cars just colliding into each other, and that's pretty much what happened. And Keyshawn delivered. So, I'm convinced he's ready. Does he win? I think if he takes more fights, his chances will continue to go up. So for me, I think he should take more fights so that it becomes more than I'm ready or he's ready for Tank, but he can actually beat Tank. And that is what, personally, in my opinion, about Keyshawn Davis. My girl is cooking me right now saying my hair look crazy. I do need to get a haircut, so I'm gonna get that clean up. I'm gonna look fresh coming up soon. And Pug, born and raised Scope, turned out last boxing event was Holmes and Butterbean. Pug, did you go to Norfolk? Were you in the arena? Did you go to the Scope arena? Because I was there, and I wish we would have been able to bump into each other. But really, I'm definitely going to the next Norfolk fight. Like, I'm not missing any of those Scope arena fights because really, that was crazy packed. There was a great vibe, a lot of energy. Unlike most boxing events in Vegas, it was packed very early on. Obviously, Keyshawn Davis making his pro debut, so they wanted to come and watch the first Davis brother, and support. But yeah, it was a movie. Pusha T, Mike Vick. I mean, Keyshawn manifested it, and it happened. So shout out to Keyshawn, man. He's proven himself to be more than just a good boxer, but an entertainer and a commodity. It was great. Terrence Bud Crawford rolled up, and Shakur came out to support. I mean, Pusha T was there, man. I was like, damn, the boy got clips. And then Mike Vick over there, damn, you got Michael Vick. I remember playing the game, just always getting the ball and just running up the field. Just, I ain't throwing this bitch. I'm running this all the way. And they were bumping Missy Elliott and Clips and Pharrell and Neptune. Like, it was so dope, man. So shout out to DB3, shout out to Troy Isley. They all did their thing, performing on there. Also on the week, Raymond Ford did his thing. Robert Merriweather did his thing. Riley, there's a lot of winners that happened. So, and shout out to Abdullah, overcame adversity. Frank fought Michelle Rivera. Whoever thinks Ryan can move up and actually beat Boots is ignoring a lot of red flags Ryan is showing. I mean, I would favor Boots ultimately. It's just concerning when you see this guy who's more than a generation. Instead of a blue chip prospect, people are anointing him as a generational talent. So it's very alarming when you see a generational talent, right? That people say getting hit that often. So it just raises flags. And what better person to assess who's. I mean, if those hooks was getting in, I mean, Ryan Garcia's hooks have to get in, right? So what type of damage would that be? But Norfolk was lit. Yeah, man, jumped out the seat at the second KO, call, 9th round, though. I'll be honest. The first round let me know that Keyshawn was going to knock him out. This is the pace to control. Gustavo just lunging in and doing all that stuff. I just know it's going to be the second round. Fundamentally, Keyshawn was way better than Lemos. Lemos was doing a whole bunch of crazy shit, lunging in, jumping in, and it was just a matter of time. The pole counter, whoof. And this one thing I'll end this segment on about Keyshawn. If you ever want to just see the progression of Keyshawn, I was the first person to put Keyshawn Davis on FightHype. It was at Wilder Fury 2 before COVID. He had no hair, right? Which I need to get a haircut. Sorry, I just re-uttered that. But he had a fade. He was chilling, looking all cool. No one was really knowing him, but he was still you know what? Matter of fact, should I show it? I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna show where I'm gonna show. What is it? Keyshawn Davis sparring Crawford Olympics. All right, 4 years ago.
If no adjustments need to be made,
That's an expensive ass that's an expensive ass haircut. I do need to get I can't just get a a barber. I need to get like a beautician. My hair looks crazy.
I ain't gonna make no adjustments.
In that sense, I don't fury. Look at this, man. This kid's young. I mean, I'm not trying to throw you out like this, but like he's young. He's a kid. He got a little couple acne bumps. Like he's a kid right here. You know what I mean? Like look at him. He's trying to, you know, he feeling himself. He got the little, you know, when you in high school, you ain't got a real bling. I mean, this might be real bling. I don't know. He might have been getting some money on the side, but you know, like you get that chain that's little at the mall and stuff. Like he's coming in, kind of fitting the part, and then a couple years later, he manifested. The dude is now selling out the Scope Arena and celebrities that I grew up listening to. Pusha T coming up and showing up. And it was an event, putting on his brothers on the card. I mean, it's and then, like I said, the progression. That's what I was getting at, the progression. He went from a kid who ultimately was a little bit of loss. And when I mean lost, it's like just growing up, just being a person, learning about yourself, and kind of figuring out how to handle this newfound fame and attention and money and pressure that he was going through. And he was very transparent. He was having stomach issues that kept him out of the ring a little bit. He was frustrated, and then he went and self-medicated based off certain circumstances, and he had to come to terms that he had to cut that out of his life. And then he went and chose religion, which is subjective on the path you go, but if you do or you don't. But he chose God, and he felt, that he needed to be on a better right track mentally. And then from that point, he had a newborn child. And so you see how locked in and how serious he is. And so I'm extremely proud of this guy, Keyshawn Davis. I'm not only saying this because I've built a decent relationship over the times just covering, but this kid has transformed to a serious problem in the lightweight division, I think. And his next opportunity, if he doesn't shit the bed, will be for a world title. And if he delivers that, then the 4 champions of that division will be Shakur Stevenson, Lomachenko, Gervonta Davis, and the new face of the 757 Pugilism, Keyshawn Davis, right? So 757 got no pro sports team, but he just produced 8 all-time great athletes, Sweet Pea and DB3 in Major League Sports. So C6, man, you came in here late. I'm about to get out of here, but I'll throw your comments up. Of course, Ryan, we've seen Boots get touched multiple times. Of course, I think you're saying, of course, Ryan can. We've seen Boots get touched multiple times by the left hook. So I'll leave it at that. Ryan Garcia has a chance. Doesn't mean he wins. We'll see. Ryan says, I would knock him out. Boots says, come on, bring it on. I'm sure Boots will love it. He needs a signature win. So 154, drop the belt. Go get the smoke, fight Virgil, and make some noise, man, because that 147 division is holding you back right now. You're better than that. I've seen you. I've covered Boots for a very long time as well in person. So at the end of the day, I'm just giving my honest take. I'm sure he's probably just trying to relax and trying to assess. And knowing him, if he's not in the gym this week, he'll be in the gym next week. So you guys clowning my hair and shit. Keyshawn looks so cute. He looks like a little baby. I mean, he still looks like a baby in person, but he looks like a middle school kid. I got my barber's L's and barber manager L's. Let me know, Ron. Yo, I might need a hookup, bro. I need a hookup. BT support me on the super chat fund. Raise to lob off his hair. Lob off my hair? Like all? I need it trimmed up. Everyone's been calling me Dougie Fish. But all right, yo. It's 1:39. I appreciate everyone showing support coming in. Ron Tino versus Aztec card later recap. I'll look that up. Is that going on today? Yeah, if I do another live tonight, maybe at like 7:30 Eastern time. If I do another live, just come up. I'll put a topic. We'll cook, regardless if it's 100, 1,000, or 50 of us just chilling. So I'll bring you up here. Same with if round 1 is still in here. Appreciate both you guys, man. Oh no, he finally caught the word. You're a hater, bro. All right, y'all. I'm gonna sign off with my epic Dragon Ball Z music, man, because I've been bumping a lot of DBZ. So. Oh, last night I didn't even see that fight, Code. I ain't gonna lie. But you talking about the Matias? I gotta catch that. I'm trying to catch up with sleep. So I'll catch up with that, man. Appreciate you, Kota. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Appreciate C6, Pugilism. Appreciate Jaquan, Point Fire. Who I miss? Angry White Man Boxing Podcast. What a name. Old Mac, Original, Candy Paint, Marcus, Mexican Boxing #1, Brian M23, Mine Yours, like that. And everyone else that came and showed up, Nasir. So, like I said, we're building this platform, and it's only gonna get better. I appreciate you guys constantly coming to support. You guys are gonna be my OGs. I'm gonna remember each one of y'all when we're gonna be the biggest show on YouTube.